What's up, guys? Tim Little, Matt Allen. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin, and welcome back to another episode of this year's 2024 Holiday Buyer's Guide series. Today, we're covering rod and reel combos for $300. We're jumping into the $300 combos today. There is a huge step up as we bump up from that $200 mark in terms of quality and components and what you get at this price point. This is a really fun group of rods right here that we're really looking forward to jumping into. As you guys probably know, if you've been following along, we are doing videos 7 days a week right now. The Holiday Buyer's Guide series just rolling, and we're doing this sooner than in years past because we're doing it in conjunction with Tackle Warehouse's Black November sale. Not Black Friday, Black November. And they've broken it up into 3 distinct segments. Rods are on sale at Tackle Warehouse right now, and they will not be come Black Friday. So we've moved these up. We're helping you guys with rods and reels. The reels will be on sale shortly. Right now it's just rods, but we're having a blast with this thing. Hopefully you guys are too. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, hand me that rod down there. All right, starting off with spinning rods. We'll do a couple spinning rods, a few spinning rods, and then we'll move into bait casters. This guy right here, this is the St. Croix Mojo Bass Trigon. You'll see this Trigon handle. This came out a couple years ago and really stood out to us playing around. You know, it looks a little different, but when you hold it in your hand, you can hold it a couple different ways. You can hold it your traditional, you know, reel seat between the pinky and ring finger. But what this was created to do was to hold it in front of the reel seat. That way, all points of your hand are touching the handle and your finger, your trigger finger, is on the blank. So a little bit different thought process, and it takes a little time to get used to, but it has a ton of sensitivity, especially when your finger's right there on the blank. And then paired that up with the Shimano, that's the Miravel. We've talked about that. Hopefully you guys have seen this series the last couple days. We talked about this one yesterday, I think. Yep. Maybe it was the day before. Can't remember, but this is a reel that is in the finesse line of Shimano. There's power, there's finesse. This has that lighter inertia, quicker startup speed, kind of that free-floating feel. It's a feel that I really like, that finesse line, but that Miravel 2500, it doesn't break the bank, and it is a reel that fishes in that higher price point, but paired together, that is a really nice combo.
It's a great combo. All right, first one up for me, we've got from Halo, we have the KS2 Elite. We've paired that up to a Daiwa Pro Scion MQLT. Start with the Halo. That Halo Elite is a rod that I have really enjoyed now for 3 or 4 years. I have been so impressed with these. I picked one up at random, just trying different things. Tim and I spend a lot of time trying rods from across the market, right? Just trying different models, trying different brands, staying on top of trends, looking for those gems. And I was very impressed when I picked up that KS2. The first thing that ever occurred to me when I saw them was how unbelievably thin the tip is. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna break that. Here we are all these years later, I've never popped one. Sensitivity is fantastic. Because of how thin that tip is, they flex under almost no load at all. That allows these rods to be very universal. So you can throw extremely light baits where you're just working it with the tip of that rod. You could throw heavier baits where you're pulling on it a little harder. But one thing that's amazing about that super light, I'm gonna call it a stinger tip, it's so light, is that you can watch deflection in the rod better than almost any other rod. That little tip, when you're dragging a bait on the bottom, say a worm or anything else, you'll see how much that worm loads, and anything more than that, you pull on. Deflection can detect a bite faster than you can feel a bite. It's a huge advantage, and that is a really unique blank. Paired up to that Pro Scion, we've got just a fantastic combo that is perfectly on price point. We don't always do that. We're definitely, in all fairness, in this video, we've got 3 spinning rods for you here that are on price point, and then we've got one that blows the price point. But we'll talk about why as we go.
All right, so sticking in the price point, the Shimano Intenza. Now the Intenza line is it's a pretty big step up from the SLX line, and I feel like it often gets overlooked from the SLX to the Corrado.
Right.
But it's a great line. It's I mean, everything about it's classy looking, clean, but more importantly, it has actions and models that aren't available in the SLX line. So the Intenza is a really good rod, and then paired up with that Shimano Ultegra, just a step up from that Miravel. Again, it's in that finesse line. It's a workhorse, but it doesn't feel like it's a workhorse, right? It feels ultra smooth,
that float
ultra
handle.
light. I mean, the thing is just buttery smooth. So that pair up, you know, the gold on gold, it's just a clean, classy look. And again, more actions or different actions than you can find in that lower price point, that SLX, and then pairing it up with that Ultegra, that is a really good combo.
All right, now all three of those combos were right there around that $300 mark. And again, rods are on sale, which even helps. You might come in even a little bit lower. That said, because of our time constraints, we're not doing $400 combos this year. We're jumping right over the top of them. Tomorrow, we're gonna talk $500 combos. And some of our favorite models in the industry are right around that $400 mark. So we've included a few here for you, just for the sake of not doing an extra video. I mean, we're doing a video every day. How do you do more than that, right? But there's also advantage to that. So what I wanted to show you is what a little bit more spend looks like. The Intenza is fantastic at its price. And if that $300 mark is your mark, you cannot go wrong with an Ultegra and an Intenza. But if you have room to spend a little more, and it is a little more, it's like an extra $100 here, right? It's a full step.
You get pink braid and chartreuse braid.
Right? You get fancy braid. But seriously, that's part of it. So this is jumping up to Corrado, and then we're jumping up to the Stratic M. The Stratic is in the power line of Shimano's reels. So they have a finesse line and a power line. That's not well explained anywhere that we've ever seen. We figured it out a few years ago, but those two styles of reel have a very different feel to them and a very different function. This is for pure power. Jumping up to Corrado is a jump up in sensitivity and opens the door to a lot of models. The jump up to Stratic jumps you up into saltwater capabilities and a ton of power. So this combo for me, this one in particular, the Stratic, I cross over into saltwater with all the time. I love doing that. You just rinse them off when you're done. But this reel, it's funny you brought up the pink braid. That's because I went to a Seaguar ultra thin braid and I went all the way up to 24 pound. Now, it's super thin, so it doesn't behave like a 24 pound, right? That's how I'm able to get away with a braid that heavy on a spinning rod. But by going to that 24 pound, I've now got a setup here where I can drop shot, Senko, shaky head. I can do a lot of different things on that reel, but with 24 pound line, I can turn around and go throw it in surf. I can throw it inshore, and here on our home lake, I can turn around and go throw it for striper. So the reel itself will take an absolute beating, and we'll do it for years. Sometimes that little bit of extra spend, not that an Ultegra is not amazing, right? I've used Ultegras forever. Fantastic reels. But when you get that little bit of extra spend, you cross that line and you're like, that's a forever reel, right? Even up against big predator species.
Yeah. Yeah, however you need to justify breaking the budget.
I think I did a good job of it.
Staying with the budget, or in the budget. I'm not going to be nearly as long-winded as Matt. But this guy right here, this is the Cashion. This is the Core series. Now, this is a series that is available. They have their jig and worm rods. They have their flip-in rods. They have, cranking rods. Biggest thing, made in the U.S. So if you're a guy that likes to support that, we all do. Made in the U.S., that's a huge, huge selling factor for us. But sensitivity's great. The actions are great. Like I said, Cashion is like, they're kind of like the Croys as far as like rod models, right? They have so many different rod models. So if you're a guy that likes to really go down that rabbit hole, this line will work for you. Again, carbon fiber handles, and then paired up with that's the SLX 70. Biggest thing about this reel is it comes with an MGL spool. anytime you get a Shimano reel with an MGL spool, you're gonna outcast your buddies. It's just plain and simple. I remember last year when we were fishing, you had one of these tied on, we were lipless fishing, and you outcast me like 10 or 15 yards, and it mattered because the fish were on the bank. I'm like, what reel is that? And lo and behold, it was this guy right here. But that is a fantastic combo. That reel is really hard to beat. That 70 size reel, it's something to be said about that smaller reel in the hand. It's just more comfortable, especially if you're throwing shorter rods.
Yep.
You know, that 70 size reel is a winner.
Next up, back staying in price point, we've got that Shimano Intensa.
Sword fighting.
Playing swords. The Intensa really is a remarkable line of rods. You've got some very unique cranking rods in there. You've got some longer actions in there. Just some really good options. And then again, Tim just was paired up to that SLX 70. That MGL spool is unbelievable. This pairing is crazy lightweight, particularly at this price point. But even outside of this price point, it is so comfortable to fish. And your ability to reach, that is something that our fishing styles are always changing, right? And I think it was both of us when we moved to Tennessee, got on the Tennessee River, our fish stay shallow much of the year. So that the requirement for us to be able to reach further than our boats could go. The boats will get too shallow, we hit bottom, and the fish are still farther than you can cast. So we became hyper aware of casting distance with reels. And we started dialing in our reels in ways that we hadn't in the past, and it's all geared around reach. And now that just stands out all the time, and that SLX 70 is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a killer combo. All right, next up, we got the Daiwa Tatula rod line paired up with the Daiwa Tatula CT. Fuji guides, sensitive rod, full cork handle. For those of you guys, some guys like split grip, some guys like full cork. Just having that higher quality cork, full cork handle matters. And then, like I said, super sensitive blanks, Fuji guides, and then paired up with that Tatula CT. Again, you get the exterior, external braking system, but that's their magnetic braking system. So their MagForce Z braking system. But if you are a Daiwa guy and you want a matchy combo, that Tatula with the Tatula CT is a really good combo.
All right, next up from me, we're jumping into Fenwick. Yesterday we talked about the Eagle. Today we're one step up from there. We're talking HMG. We paired that up to that Revo SX HSLP. The jump here in the reel in particular is crazy. But let's start with the rod. The HMGs, you're now in the middle of the price point for Fenwick. Yesterday we talked about how their actions, it's like this family of actions that's the same regardless of the price point. So in an Eagle, an HMG, all the way up to a World Class, the actions are identical. They just get lighter and more sensitive. These HMGs are phenomenal rods. There are just some familiar actions in there that I love fishing with. Now, stepping up to this reel, the biggest thing here is it's a step up to 25 pounds of drag. You want a full-blown workhorse, right? I mean, putting it to them, punching, flipping, frogging, small swim baits, all that serious power fishing. This is a fantastic reel to do that at an affordable price, and that's a killer combo.
Is this in the price point?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
You're cheating.
I'm cheating.
Now it's your fault.
Yeah,
go ahead and go long-winded about it while you're at it.
All right, so now I'm out of price point. I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is a Megabass rod. There's no way this is right, because anytime you jump up into that Megabass stuff, you're known for that true JDM style. The fit and finish is just super clean, and you know, we throw a lot of Megabass stuff, the higher end stuff. And what's cool about the Levante series, it's not nearly as pricey as some of that higher end price point stuff. The actions drop down, right? You got the flat side special, or you got the brailess, you know. So we throw a ton of Megabass, and like I said, with Megabass, you get that cleaner fit and finish. You just get that true JDM feel.
Yep.
So that Levante series is a really clean series. Like that series a ton. And then paired that up with a Daiwa Tatula 150. So the next step up from that last Daiwa that I talked about, again, has that external braking system. Now you're into their magnetic braking system. Again, that 150 size, a little bit bigger in the palm versus a 70 size reel, but you get more line capacity. And then this reel has that T-wing system. So if you're a guy that ties braid deleter or whatever, you won't have any issues with that as long as you're tying smaller knots. But it allows you,
and I tie giant knots.
But it allows you to get a little bit more casting distance out of your reel. So it frees up that line guide and lets that line fly off the spool. But that guy right there, you know, that Tatula 150 paired up with a Megabass Levante is a really, really nice rod.
You know, again, we're jumping up in price point. We're showing you what happens when you take that slight step up, right? One more step, and you can't go wrong either way. We would never encourage somebody to spend outside of their budget. You don't have to. For the last couple of days, we've been talking about amazing rods, right? You can drop down to $100 combo today, and you're still fine. You will catch a pile of fish. But when you take that last step up, we fish nonstop, year round. It never ends, right? And at that next step, Levante, there are models in that line that are like core models to our fishing that we fish every day. At that price point, you're there. We fish NRX Pluses and P5s and all these different super high-end things. We also fish a lot of Levante. My favorite square bill rod of all time is the flat side special in the Levante. It's amazing. All right, next one up. From St. Croix, we've got the Victory line. Then we paired that up to their GSC 150. That was a new launch. They came out with that GF first, which as a budget reel is fantastic. Then they came out with this guy, and it's just a step up. It's neat to see 7, which is somehow connected to St. Croix, right? Stepping up and building really quality reels, and they're doing it like they're working their way up. They didn't come out the gate with some super high-end reel trying to convince you to spend. They're working their way up, and they're doing a really good job of it. Jumping over to the Victory, the Victories are, I mean, they almost speak for themselves. They're just like every other line of St. Croix. There are enough of them to make anyone dizzy. Flat out. Like it will wreck your world to look at not a price list, but a model list of Victories and then try and go, hey, when I was throwing that jig, which one was it? And you're like, well, was it that one, or that one?
They got names.
They do. They have names. Within the line, though, there are a handful of models that are just rock stars. The reason why they do that is that the St. Croix guys are serious anglers, and they build a model specific to every major technique. That's why there are so many. They're not going to tell you that a 7-foot medium heavy can do 20 things. They're going to take those 20 things and they're going to build the best rod they can for each category. But again, within that, there are gems. And that's what we spend our time looking for. So in the video description, just like every video, we link everything we're talking about in the order that we talk about it. As long as there is room, we will give you the specific models that we really enjoy from every one of these lines as well, because that is the stuff, right? That's what you need to take away. We're doing this not because Tim and I want to stand next to a boat and talk about rods. We would rather be on the water today. We're doing this because at your request, people would like us to do this. And that's why we're here. We have a unique perspective where we have bought way too much tackle over way too many years, and we are honest in our comparisons, and that's how we find those gems. And we take that hit in the wallet so that you don't have to. We put all that time in, buy all that stuff, we buy a lot of junk, and then we found the gems. And we'll give you those for every one of these lines.
Lucky for us. I mean, you say junk, but there's not a lot of junk out there anymore.
Not anymore. Boy, we used to blow some money.
Man, there was stuff that did not last, and just you spend $200 or $300 on a reel, and it doesn't even last a season. Like you're blowing out drags and stuff. Anyways, get off the soapbox. Next up for me, the Zodius line of rods. This is a line of rods that has been out for, I don't know, a few years, but true monocoque handle. This is a rod. Just like a lot of these rods, the Victories, the Megabass, the Daiwas, they just feel higher quality. You feel the sensitivity. So when you pick up one of these rods versus a lower price point rod, you can truly feel the difference. You can feel the weight difference. You can feel the sensitivity. But speaking of specific models, this 7.5 medium heavy is an awesome rod. It just happens to be the one that I'm holding, but it's one of my favorites in the entire line. Longer handle. This is like our lighter A-rig rod, our lighter swim bait rod. You can just do so much with it. But again, that Zodius line has a lot of really good models in that line. You could outfit your entire arsenal with the Zodius line, and then having that lighter, more sensitive monocoque handle just feels really good in the hand, paired up with a Corrado 150 MGL. Again, I mentioned it before, anytime you have an MGL spool, you're just gonna outcast your buddies, you're gonna cast farther. It just has that buttery, smooth feel to it. And that 150 size, it's not a full size frame, it's not a full size reel. It's a little bit bigger than that 70 or 100 size, but still has enough drag and enough power to be able to throw A-rigs and swim baits and that sort of stuff on it. But that guy right there, a 150 paired up with any of the Zodius rods, is an awesome combo.
All right, last but certainly not least, we threw in a bait finesse combo for you. Now, this one is cheating again, right? These last few have been cheating out of that 300, more in that 400.
Rods are on sale.
Rods are on sale.
Rods are on sale. Even if they're not listed, they're on sale.
So he just nailed it with that. Not every brand allows sales to be advertised. So whether or not they say they are on sale, if you actually purchase them, they are on sale. So back to this bait finesse combo. Bait finesse has exploded. So throughout these videos where there's a significant change, we've tried to pull one out and show you that difference as well, what you get at that next price point. So stepping up here, we've got the Dobbin Sierra series. These reels, or these rods, are phenomenal bait finesse rods. They were some of the first bait finesse rods in the US. At least once bait finesse kicked off.
Yeah.
They were right. They weren't here in the very beginning, but once it started to really fire in this country, they were on it. And we've been silent about them for a little while, and we've even had people ask, "Why aren't you talking about those?" The bait finesse category has exploded. Like, we already know what our opinion is here, and now there's 20 or 30 or 40 new options that all need to be analyzed and fished and beat up and seeing whether or not they hold up over time. But that Sierra series is just a staple line with some killer actions. And then a Corrado BFS, which is the true benchmark of bait finesse in the US market. If you are getting into bait finesse, a Corrado BFS can do everything that an American bait finesse angler would want to do. And the reason why I say an American is there is definitely a divide in bait finesse that is showing up in the market, where there's that JDM bait finesse. It's like micro little baits,
little creeks,
small waters. Yeah, like short casts, but you need to get under things, versus the Americanized bait finesse, which is I'm throwing smaller things that weigh a lot less, but I still want to send it across a point, right? You're still bass fishing our style, but with bait finesse gear. And the Corrado is great for getting those long casts.
Well said. All right, guys, that wraps up $300 combos. Again, we kept it in the budget for the most part.
Yeah. A lot of them were.
But we had some reasons to kind of go out of budget a little bit. Just some stellar rods and reel combos in that lineup. But as always, guys, we appreciate the support. Next up, we have $500 combos, and then we'll just keep on going from there. But guys, as always, we appreciate the support. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys tomorrow.